I'm going to start this off by saying yes, World War III is the game that disappeared off the face of the earth a couple years ago. If you thought the name sounded familiar, if you have this weird feeling that you might have spent $30 a while back because this game was touted to be the Battlefield killer, you're not going crazy. 3 years after delisting from every game store and going back to full development, World War III is currently in its closed beta, which you can access if you buy the beta pack for 15 bucks. But it will eventually be a completely free-to-play multiplayer FPS game. Think something along the lines of a free-to-play Battlefield, and you're in a good place to start with what World War III is all about. Now, I didn't know what to expect from this game. I never really bought into the hype a few years ago. I was really into Battlefield 1, played some Battlefield 5, and then dove headfirst into Squad and Tarkov. My tactical shooter and arcade FPS plate was pretty full, and World War III was in a weird spot where people would say, well, if you want a modern Battlefield and you don't want to deal with all the problems this thing has, simply play Battlefield 4. And they weren't necessarily wrong in thinking that. However, in 2021, World War III is a game that has taken me by complete surprise, and in a very good way. As much as I and probably everyone else out there is going to compare this game to Battlefield, it actually reminds me a lot like Tarkov, and strangely enough, a little bit like Call of Duty. Kind of like if Tarkov had a Call of Duty perks and call-in system and a Battlefield game mode. It might sound a little confusing, so let me explain, and let's start out with customization and progression. The weapon customizations are weapon level locked like Battlefield or Call of Duty games, but the customization itself is pretty in-depth. You have armor plates, uniforms, helmets, magazines, barrels, and tons of weapons to choose from to make your kit play how you want it. Whereas Battlefield 2042 restricts your customization to a handful of items, World War III opens Pandora's box and allows you to mix and match however you want, given you have the weapon level to do so. Although I believe that there will be a type of premium and regular currency to unlock this stuff when it's out of beta, it doesn't feel like you'll ever be left wanting for an attachment or cosmetic item, given you have the correct currency or level for it. From helmet skins to tactical gloves to even uniform patches to make your character be from wherever you want them to be, and 3 character slots to swap between pre-made characters if you do want to do that. How about that for customization, Battlefield? I'm actually kind of sold on this cosmetic system. I'm not that into cosmetics. I don't really care if the gameplay is solid, I'll play the game, but this looks nice. It looks solid, it looks clean, and it's really well done. It's weird, even with the 3 cosmetic items on each slot that we get to play around with in the beta, it honestly looks like the character models are more varied than the specialists we get in Battlefield 2042. It's just really nice to see soldiers look like soldiers. Crazy concept, I know. I also really like how you build your kit in game. And once again, although a significant amount of stuff is locked due to being a low level or not provided because it's beta, I see the structure of what they want to achieve and I like it. You can select 2 weapons, a gadget, tactical equipment, and nobody is going to tell you what they should be since your entire kit is weight-based. Have 2 primary weapons? Well, you might not be able to use the heavy armor plating, so you'll be a little bit more vulnerable in the field. Grab a machine gun and an RPG? Alright, but your weight is going to slow you way down, making for a much easier target to hit. But that might not actually matter to you since you'll be bipoded most of the time. Throw in health, ammo, armor, whatever you want as your tactical gadget, and you're good to go. The kits you start out with are all fairly basic. An AR, some anti-tank, machine gun, marksman, sniper, and eventually a shotgun. But the weapons do all feel pretty good with the given attachments, and scrolling through the amount of weapons you can unlock is really impressive. You have endless ways to mix and match, plus a crazy amount of grind if you do want to max level a weapon, so the Call of Duty grind crowd should absolutely love this system, while those who like Battlefield 4 should still enjoy the variety of attachments as well. Same goes for those Tarkov fans who might just want to make a monster looking weapon, no matter the stats. Oh, and there's also a backpack system which closely resembles Battlefield 2042's Plus system, but it's done surprisingly well. You have a certain number of items you load into your backpack with your kit in the main menu customization area. And then by pressing I while you're in-game, you can then select the various items you want to swap to, such as different optics, magazines, foregrips, but even things like gadgets, so you can, on the fly, swap between smoke grenades and frag grenades, for example. The moment I saw this, I had a mind-blown moment. Like, how could a AAA studio making Battlefield 2042 come up with some crazy, weird, super convoluted, and frustratingly organized plus system. And then My Games comes over here, drops the backpack, and I'm just like, yeah, this is the thing that we need to swap weapons, and I'm totally on board with how it's set up. Additionally, there's also a strike system where you can use certain call-ins or perks throughout the game to help yourself and your team. These things can be simple like your standard UAV, a guided missile, bombing runs, radio jammers, and even tanks and drone helicopters. I wasn't sure if I was going to like this system, but after a few hours I realized it actually makes for some really interesting game mechanics, since the map isn't absolutely flooded with vehicles right out the gate like it is in Battlefield. Players have to play the objective, capture, defend, kill, heal, rearm, all that team play stuff in order to earn the right to get enough points to have a chance to call in that tank or IFV or a helicopter. It's also set up in a way where if you do spend the 900 points for a UAV, for example, you don't get them back until you earn them. It's not like Call of Duty where you have it just waiting once you unlock them all, and you have to make a conscious effort on which call-ins you want right then and there. Should you wait for the tank, or is this radar that you currently have unlocked going to be incredibly helpful right now? I've had some games where I seriously never went above 1,000 points because I was constantly using a UAV, meaning that's one less opportunity for a tank to be on the field. It also makes the vehicles that do show up that much more important. It's a really unique infantry vehicle meta, and I think I like it a lot. Infantry players will not get absolutely rolled, and those who do wish to shine in vehicles can, they just have to wait a little bit to do so. Oh, and another thing, every player has a repair tool, and you can even lock certain seats in the vehicles so players won't run up and steal your vehicle and grief you like they've done in the history of every Battlefield game. Moving on to game modes, there are currently 2 available in the closed beta: Tactical Ops and Team Deathmatch. Tactical Ops is 20v20 and a bit like your typical Battlefield Conquest game, where each map has a couple objectives that have to be captured in order to score points for your team. The main difference though is that each map will have certain objectives that have lines between each other, linking the two, like Charlie 1 and Charlie 2. Capturing these linked objectives is the only way to actually score points in game, while the other non-linked objectives are simply available for spawning in. It took me the longest time to realize what was going on with this game mode, since the first couple of maps I played, my team got absolutely stomped despite having what I thought was more, or at the very least, kind of even objective caps to the other team. But the more I've played this, the more I like it. These linked objectives allow for a considerable amount of flanking, zoning, and even counterplay to try and break links or split push to double cap a set of linked objectives. And I found myself less running around in circles like I would in a typical game of Battlefield, and my team and squad would stay more or less in one area to defend and push out as needed. For example, on the map Warsaw, there is a giant mall, which also reminds me a lot of Tarkov's Interchange, by the way, and with 2 separate linked objectives within the mall itself, a couple of squads could roam around, clearing out stores and hallways and protecting critical links for their team, while another 1 or 2 players push out to secure the link outside. It's fun, like surprisingly fun, and I can't reiterate enough how much it felt like Conquest, but a better Conquest. The games felt like they lasted about 20 to 30 minutes on average. I will say that I generally felt good about the games, and even if we lost, I actually usually enjoyed playing them, which is always a good thing. For Team Deathmatch, I do really like how World War III goes about it, since it isn't just a simple one round of get to 75 or 100 kills or whatever and on to the next one, but instead it's teams of 10 on small sections of the bigger maps, and they actually have it set up so it's first to 50 kills, best of 3. So even if you get smoked on the first round, you have a chance to come back, which is nice, and I felt like I started to really get a feel for my opponents and teammates by round 2, making the games that much better. Now, when it comes to actual gameplay and firefights, I'm pretty surprised to say that it feels really good. It doesn't feel super arcadey like Battlefield or Call of Duty, but firefights have this real sensation that you're firing a weapon at someone that has a decent amount of body armor, but isn't some super bullet sponge soldier. If you hit someone in Kevlar or ceramic, it's going to absorb properly and not kill the guy, but it doesn't feel as cheesy as Battlefield 2042 armor. If you put a round of 7.62 right through someone's forehead, he's gonna go down. I've had moments where I've turned a corner and at full health, I've dropped like a sack of potatoes to what I felt like 1 bullet because he smacked me right in the face. At first, I'm like, hey, this isn't fair. But as I played more and I channeled my inner Tarkov gamer, I began to really like this. Using semi-auto, burst firing, having patient lined up shots, hitting angles and focusing unarmored body parts are actually really important in this game. You have certain moments where you're running and gunning like Call of Duty, you're making some battlefield plays, and then in the midst of everything around you, you just square up, slow down, and have really slow Tarkov-like firefights. A couple people in a hallway trying to figure out how to get around, how to push, how to take that perfect shot, whereas in any other game, you might just run up and try to 360 no-scope them. It's really cool, and it makes a very big game feel actually very small depending on the situation. And the cherry on top is you get to see these amazing ragdolls afterwards. People feel weighty, like they're really there and not just some floating model slip-sliding everywhere like in Battlefield 2042. When firing, weapons feel like they have an appropriate amount of recoil, they do the right damage, and although I have noticed what feels like some hit reg issues, I can't say I've had too many problems with the gunplay. Going from World War III to Battlefield 2042 almost feels night and day with how responsive and in control I am with everything, which, if you knew about this game 3 years ago, is actually almost laughable to say. All right, now I'm sure there's a few of y'all saying, okay, I get it, Moi, you like the game. Wow, where is the disclosure that you got paid to make this video because you're obviously a shill? I didn't get paid to say any of this. I'm not sponsored, and whether that surprises you or not, you're right, okay? There's definitely a lot that I don't like about the game, so let's talk about that. My biggest issue right now is server stability, and it's at the point where some people are waiting upwards of 40 minutes to an hour to find a server. Now, when I say find a server, I don't mean they're just looking for one, like, hey, let's, wait, and oh my god, I'm still matchmaking. No, you get stuck in this endless loop of being matched to a server, loading in with people, waiting in this waiting screen, and then nothing happens. Or it jumps forward and you start loading into the game, only to then kick you out and put you back in either that same lobby or a completely new search, creating an endless time loop of not playing the game. It's so frustrating, so incredibly frustrating, and I haven't had nearly as many issues as some people. Now, I don't know if what I'm doing is actually helping, or maybe it's just making me feel better, like a placebo effect, but I've had luck disconnecting from the search when I start getting into this time loop, trying to do a custom game search, canceling the custom game search, and then queuing up for quick play. Now, this doesn't work all the time, but like I said, based on what I've heard from others, the downtime that I've had with this game is not nearly a fraction as bad as it could be. Imagine paying $15 and then waiting upwards of 60 minutes to still not play the game. It's a legitimate problem and it needs to be fixed. On that same token, because of these server issues, I've only gotten to really play 2 of the 4 maps, Berlin and Warsaw. And don't get me wrong, these are great maps, but I want to try something else. I happened to play Moscow the first time I started the game, but aside from the maybe 15 minutes I spent on that, and once again, I didn't even really know what I was doing, literally every single other game has been Warsaw and Berlin. TDM Warsaw, TDM Berlin, Berlin, Warsaw. I didn't even know Polarny existed until I saw it pop up during an episode of this server disconnect time loop. And this might not be a bug, I just might be a toxic teammate or something, but whenever you do get in game, there's like a minute of pre-game where people load in and you wait for 30 out of 40 people or whatever, and you can actually team kill during this time. Yeah, you can team kill during the normal game too, which I don't think I even mentioned, but I do really like that, by the way. But in this pre-stage, you can team kill, but it's not the real game. There's no score, there's nothing. You're just waiting for 20 or 30 seconds, but you can actually be auto-kicked for too much friendly damage during this time. So that would be nice to be removed, since I really didn't appreciate killing a couple of my friendlies and then being removed from the server, only then to get stuck back into the endless server time loop. I'm also not a huge fan of the UI in general when you're trying to spawn in game. I have no frame of reference where any of these objectives are on the map since it's a new game to me, but even if I was familiar with them, I don't know if it's smart to spawn on this location or not. Same with my squad mates. I've started to actually open my map and then swap between the map and active spawns in order to judge where exactly I should deploy. And I'm scratching my head why a map wasn't included in this screen by default, since it would be so incredibly helpful. And when spawning, I am never sure whether I can deploy or not, since sometimes it says my teammate is in combat, or suppressed, or jammed, or whatever, but he's just standing there, safe, or running, safe, and I'm locked out of a spawn. Another big thing is the audio. The guns feel good and they look good, but they don't sound that good, like at all. And I'm hoping that these are placeholder or early versions since it's beta, but it is a bit of a bummer with how gritty looking everything is, only to have pop gun sounds. There's also a number of smaller things I dislike, like some of the map asset vehicles look like real vehicles, so you're not too sure if you should shoot or run away from them or not. Grenades, for some reason, can only be thrown like 6 inches in front of you. There's this weird plane model that appears on screen for when you call in your vehicle, which looks like it was straight out of 2003. Getting stuck on every little piece of terrain in game is so incredibly frustrating and has killed me countless of times. And some other things like destructibility feels super hit or miss depending on the object. But in general, I'm actually having a blast with World War III. There are bugs, there are huge server issues right now, but for once this game feels like it's actually in a beta. And I'm excited to say that if this is a closed beta, then there should be plenty of time between now and the open free beta in March 2022 to find problems and fix them. The core game feels surprisingly good. Now the big questions of battle passes, monetization, and cosmetics have to be answered in the coming months to see if this game has the longevity of full price games and free-to-play battle royales. But what do you guys think? Does World War III look like it can actually compete with Battlefield? Is weapon customization and level grinding enough to keep you engaged if it is a free-to-play game? Let me know in the comments below, and if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. And don't forget to check out the live streams at twitch.tv/MoiDawg, where I stream every weekday. And if you catch me during a World War III stream now until December 10th, I do have drops enabled, meaning that if you link your Twitch account and watch, you can get some cool cosmetic items for your character. The live streams are a lot of fun, so I hope to see you there. But that's it for me. Until next time, peace.